Gear.Club Unlimited 2 is the sequel to last year's Switch-exclusive racer. Last year, I found myself enjoying Gear.Club Unlimited, and while it had room for improvement, it was certainly a strong first effort for the Switch. It may have been an enhanced port of the iOS version of their title, but it was done so quite well. A year later, Microids and developer Eden Games have crafted a sequel built exclusively for Nintendo's hot platform. Is this sequel shifting the series into high gear, or is it stuck going in reverse? Let's find out. Gear.Club Unlimited 2 starts off with you being a test driver for a team and jumping into a circuit due to a professional racer not making it in time for the big event. This serves as your introduction to the game's mechanics and controls. If you're familiar with the first game, the mechanics are the same here. Racing borders closer to the simulation racing type, with customization available for novice and professional drivers. Should you mess up your turn, you can also rewind the gameplay a bit to fix your mistake. The game is littered with races. Approximately 250 events are spanning across a vast map. You will still access your garage to customize your vehicles to your liking and tune them up as well. Also, multiplayer does return. There's still 4-player local multiplayer, and now a proper online multiplayer system is in place, but is not currently ready yet. At the time of this review, and it's currently over 2 months since the game's release, there's still no news on when the online play is going to be active. What's also new to this installment is the wide variation of locales, including driving on snowy terrain. This is a welcome addition to the game that does help establish it more as a sequel. Races now take place on even more expansive environments. Not only are the locales more varied, but races are much longer in duration as well. Whereas most events in the first game took about 45 seconds to 2 minutes, these take between 2 to 5 minutes each. The opponent AI has also been improved to provide more of a challenge than its predecessor, even on the harder settings. Events will consist of traditional races and time trial events where you'll see a ghost image of the cars doing their line. There will also be knockout or elimination events where you have to try to stay in front of the pack every 20 seconds and that the last place person gets knocked out. Unfortunately, this sequel, one of which I was excited for, feels like a misfired cylinder. The first issue is the game's loading screens. While the loading was somewhat lengthy in the first game, this installment's loading screens feel much longer. Not an exaggeration, but I did actually doze off for a minute during loading an event and woke up to it just finishing up its loading. For a game that's built for a hybrid console, the long load times between events truly ruins the flow of the gameplay. And it needs to load for almost everything. Booting up the game to the main menu, selecting a career mode to load your game, going into your garage, accessing car dealerships, test driving cars, and going into each race. It's just a bit much, especially with how long it takes to load. The second thing are the controls. The control input lags for not only the button presses, but turning as well. This lag is apparently not only played docked, but also when playing handheld. Lag inputs in a racing game, or any game for that fact, makes for unnecessary issues on the racetrack, and more colliding with the walls than intended. Additionally, the game's physics engine was altered and honestly not for the best. While it's a nice touch when driving on snow that the car slides, driving in general feels lackluster. Even drifting feels like a step backwards. Oh, and let me not get started on the invisible walls that'll mess up your turns. The next thing is the game's performance seems to be more inconsistent than its predecessor. The frame rate tries to target 30 frames per second, but it had more noticeable frame drops during races and more so at the car dealerships. Honestly, the whole game just feels like a chore to play compared to the original. Visually, the graphics engine improved in some ways, and as mentioned, took a step back as well. Environments, lighting, and car details have all been increased. However, performance has taken a bit of a hit in light of this. In terms of audio, the biggest gripe I had with the original game is the lack of race music. This sequel once again lacks that, and is more apparent due to races being 2 to 3 times longer than its predecessor. What's worse is that the sound effects are just mediocre, so there's nothing to make the racing feel all that exciting. Gear.Club Unlimited is essentially Switch's answer to having a Gran Turismo or Forza on Nintendo's platform. While the first game was a really good first effort, this sequel is unfortunately a step backwards. I really wanted to enjoy this game, but I left it feeling like it needed more time in development to polish it up and truly make it feel like a sequel versus a carbon copy installment. If you're looking for a sim-like racer on the Switch, stick with the first Gear.Club Unlimited. If there's a third installment, here's hoping that they actually give it the true proper sequel treatment. That's why I'm giving Gear.Club Unlimited 2 a 5.0 out of 10.